Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Kareem. It is Ramadan again, and we didn't actually plan the suhoor bites this year, I have to admit. And then this morning we woke up on the first day of Ramadan, and the three of us just felt like something was missing. So, very last minute, we decided to do the suhoor bites again, and we are recording this pretty much live the moment it is going to go live. I know that I'm going to continue what I did last year. So I'm going to be interviewing cool Arabs, Muslims throughout the games industry and showcasing a different one every Suhoor bite. I'm not quite sure what Osama is doing yet. Fauzi might be talking about movies, but I can't promise that just yet. So we are going to do Suhoor bites. I'm excited. I'm excited that it is Ramadan. It comes around so quickly. And for the first episode, I have a first guest. And the first guest is Faris Attieh of Lunacy Studios. Faris, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure to have you on this show. Can you tell us a little bit about Faris?
A little bit about Faris, sure. Founder and creative director of Lunacy Studios. I was born in the U.S., grew up in Saudi Arabia, originally Palestinian, so I'm a third culture kid through and through, but obviously growing up in Saudi Arabia, having that be a part of who I am. I started the studio to tell stories that are closer to home, and that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful watching you grow your studio. It's a very it is, I have to admit, it is a very Arab studio.
In many ways, yes.
Right. It's nice because for context for the people listening, I consult at Lunacy Studios. And have been for quite a while, and it was just so nice to come into the team communication channels. I don't remember what it's, Slack or Discord. I just check whatever, and just see so many Ramadan messages. Yeah. Just everybody wishing each other Ramadan Kareem and Mubarak, and I'm just like, I've missed this in the games industry, you know?
Yeah, you have it at home, but I guess you don't see it in the industry much.
No, yeah, no. I mean, at home, I was on the phone with my father yesterday while the imams were explaining whether it was Ramadan or not. And it's always this very long TV show in Egypt, you know.
I have to say, I do love that. It's always like anticipation of like, is it today? Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, it's like an award ceremony.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, what day is going to be awarded? You think we know the moon by now, but I guess we like to make a show out of it.
Just I remember sitting in front of that TV with when I was a kid, and just watching it, is not fully understanding all the Arabic,
right?
And just sitting there and just being like, this guy talks forever. It will never end.
Your eyes will glaze over at some point if you don't understand the language. I find that when I travel back home, it takes me about a week to reacclimate my ears. To pick up the language quick enough. I mean, I am fluent, but when you're living overseas for so long, you just kind of that language takes a backseat.
Yeah. For me, it's always the confidence in speaking. It's less the I can understand it just fine, but I'm so used to being fluent in languages. You know, Dutch, English. I'm capable in other languages too, but capable does mean that I just need some time to feel confident again. And for Arabic specifically, just I haven't been to Egypt in a decade because of the military draft. So I haven't been in Arab environments. I was in Saudi Arabia with you actually pretty recently.
That's I mean, and you kind of get when it's spoken all around you, you'd be surprised how quick you pick it up. I think even by the end of that trip, I noticed you were more confident in your responses as well.
Yeah. That's how it is. It's a confidence issue, and I hate it, but I just need to speak more Arabic again. So
you have Lunacy Studios.
I do have Lunacy Studios. Tell us a little bit about Lunacy Studios.
Lunacy Studios. Yeah, our first game is based on a story of loss and grief. I lost my father a few years ago, and a couple of very significant people as well since then. And I found that the way we grieve as Arabs is very different to the rest of the world. And another thing is that no one really talks about it, and no one talks about what happens once the phone stops ringing. So I wanted to tell a story about loss and how there is light at the end of the tunnel, even if you don't see it. So the story revolves around a little girl in the golden age of Islam, but really it's just a story about hope. And I hope, and I wish that I had a game like this that I could play while I was going through that grief that I could relate to. So I
Yeah.
want to tell the story so that the people that go through what I went through will have something to latch onto, hopefully, and resonate with them.
Right, because you were not a game developer before this,
Oh
right?
no!
You're
Oh, no, I was not. Yeah, no, my background's in mechanical engineering and international management, but I was so passionate about storytelling. I did a lot of soul searching after I worked in those fields for a little bit, and I found that I just want to tell stories. I want to move people through storytelling, and the two mediums that I loved were games and film, but games kind of just won out. It's a
yeah,
very unique medium to tell meaningful stories in. And
right.
I think it worked out because we have a studio now. We were able to build an amazing team of predominantly Arab folks from around the world. We're completely remote, and it's resonated with everyone we've spoken to. So I think there is a need for that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, you were. Yeah, I always forget that you were in the in steel
Yeah.
and engineering. I don't know what I imagined for you before this.
It's a very different life,
Uh,
much less creative life.
right.
I had to learn how to flex creative muscles very quickly,
Right.
but I felt like I always had them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What did you do any other creative things? Were you did you draw? Did you write? Did you
Uh,
cook? Did you make music?
Yeah, actually, I play guitar, I play drums. That was my outlet for creativity for the longest time. I used to write, but not as much. But music was kind of my outlet, really. And I
Right.
think that actually quite helps with what I do now, surprisingly. Being able to switch your brain off and speak in a language that is not a spoken language, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes creativity and writing creatively is very non-linear and very non-traditional, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to kind of vibe into things, I
Exactly. It's almost
think.
like
You know.
you're channeling something from
Yep. Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You had, I think, a really fun Ramadan story. Well, if one of your first Ramadans after you moved back to the United States, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I spent high school, or all my younger years in Saudi. So Ramadan was always with the family, was always a big gathering. You'd have, the family, extended family all together, especially for the first day. The first day and Eid are kind of the big two, right? So,
Yeah.
so I moved to Miami for college, and Miami being the holy place that it is, I felt like I had to compensate. I had to compensate for the city that I was in, and for being away from home. Really, I was quite homesick. Luckily,
Mm.
my first semester there, I had met quite a few Arabs. I met a big group that were already there, and so to thank them for letting me into their little nest, I wanted to make this big extravagant start for them and have a multi-course meal and have the whole shebang, molokhia, kapsa, the whole thing.
Hmm.
And not realizing how multi-step process these dishes were, anyway, over my head. I did used to do a little bit of cooking, but I was not prepared, let's just say. So as this is going on, I'm making the soups and whatever. And one example is you don't put hot soup in a blender and turn it on. You will end up with potato leek all over your cabinets. uh, Mind you, this was a few minutes before the guests were supposed to show up, and I'm scrambling
Oh
trying to put it together.
no.
And at that point, I'm like, look, either they don't eat or they eat burnt food. Obviously,
Yeah.
I didn't scrape off the soup off the cabinets to serve that, but whatever wasn't burnt or destroyed, I scrambled together and put on the table. So when the guests do eventually come through, you can tell by the looks of their faces that they're like, oh, right, uh-huh.
Mm, mm. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Basically, yeah, and honestly, by halfway through the iftar, I just said, "Guys, look, it's okay. We can just order in," and that's what we ended up doing. And I felt so horrible. And a few days later, I think my friends felt bad for me, and so they invited me over for iftar. They didn't say anything, and when I showed up, they had made every dish that I wanted to make, but they kind of made it in my honor and as if it was the iftar for me.
Aw.
And so since then, we've been lifelong friends. Um,
I I can imagine.
yeah.
That is a very Ramadan story, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. So those experiences of growing up, but with now with Ramadan being more of a thing globally, um, it's really exciting to see people from different cultures wanting to be a part of it and wanting to acknowledge it
Yeah.
as well. I was thinking about this yesterday actually when they announced it. I was thinking, when is it that we're going to have Ramadan themed festivities in online games?
I mean, I saw it in Fortnite. I see TikTok is doing something. It's starting to
We're
happen.
starting, but the question is, when are we going to have dates as consumables, as power ups in games?
Right.
For the season. That's what I want to see.
We're we're gonna keep going until that happens. But the difference between this year and last year is
It
huge,
is. It is.
and every year before that.
Yeah.
So inshallah, it keeps going because it is important that the kids and the people growing up now that even for us who've been around, that we feel like this is part of our lives and we don't have to feel like we have to overcompensate by cooking poorly
Yeah. Exactly.
uh, to stay connected to who we are. Like we should just be able to be ourselves without having to fight for it.
Yes, I totally agree.
Faris, it was a pleasure. Where can people find you if they want to follow you or the story of Lunacy? Like where can people
Yeah,
go?
Instagram, Twitter, Faris Attieh. That's FARISATTIEH. Or Lunacy Studios. It's Lunacy_Studios on Twitter, or our website, lunacystudios.com. Keep a lookout. I think we'll be showing a lot more very soon.
Good. Shukran. Salam.
Salam, salam.